Hey, it's Sam Anderson. So I'm just going to shoot a quick video of what my responsibilities were in our group presentation. So I was responsible for the introduction of the event and then the historical background that we used to kind of frame our event. And then my final part was just kind of the conclusion to wrap everything up and say, basically, this is going to be the greatest event ever. So, it's going to be kind of interesting because I have the first two parts and then there's a bunch of stuff in between that everyone else was responsible for, and then I have the closing parts. So, yeah, we'll figure this out together. So, our actual event that we were planning as a group is a youth ministry outreach activity. And so we had this idea of calling it Glow. And the main theme was this idea of glow, and it was this Jesus is the light of the world, citing Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16, and that was going to kind of be our guiding verse for the event. And so our target audience was the urban, suburban, high school students for the most part, and we were going to do it on the Friday night right before spring break. It's kind of like a launch off to spring break so that everybody could hang out and have a good time and really start the thing off right. And the location was at Central Church, which is located in Madison Heights at about 12 Mile and I-75. And so the schedule for the event, we were going to have the leaders check in at 6 p.m., check in their groups. The idea is that we were going to invite all the different local youth groups in our region and say, hey, let's come together, let's hang out and worship Jesus together, and let the students see that they're not alone, that there are other students and other churches following Jesus and other high schools following Jesus, and let's all kind of encourage each other and challenge and inspire one another. And so the schedule was going to be leaders would check in at 6 o'clock, and then at 6:30 the doors open and we would have a live DJ playing, just playing some house music and stuff like that to kind of get the energy going, set the atmosphere, set the tone for the evening, set the vibes. And then at 7 o'clock, which gives people a half hour from when doors open to when it starts, worship would start. And we'd have a mainly student-driven band with maybe a couple leaders in there kind of guiding everyone and everything. But the worship would start at 7 o'clock and we'll go from 7 till 7:30. And then from 7:30 to 8 p.m., we would have the message where we would have a local pastor, a local youth pastor come in and speak for the event. And then from 7:30 to 8 is the message. And then from 8 to 8:15 is sort of a closing response time where the students will have an opportunity to process what the speaker just talked about and sort of begin to apply it to their lives immediately before we go out and have a bunch of fun and do all those sort of things. So from 8 to 8:15, there was like a worship set B where students would have an opportunity to respond. And then at 8:15, we would kind of close down the service portion of the evening with announcements and instruction on what's coming next. And then at 8:30, from 8:30 to 10:30, we would open the gym and we'd play glow-in-the-dark dodgeball, where we'd have black lights and laser lights and all these different things and smoke machines and glow-in-the-dark dodgeballs that we could play with, and have pizza and other games and have a lounge area set up where it'd be sort of like an afterglow or an after party to the service. So students would not only experience faith, but they would also experience community, and hopefully this would model kind of how they approach life. And so that would be the introduction, and then I would go into the historical background that led us to these ideas, because understanding the context of ministry, it'll give us sort of a historical foundation to frame our approach in connecting with teenagers the most effective way at our regional youth rally. And so I started off by talking about the Madison Heights socioeconomic system, which is sort of the climate of the socioeconomic in our region, in our area, so that we know how to connect with these students. Because the idea is that if we're hoping to be missional and we're hoping to connect these people to Jesus, we need to know where they are so we can meet them where they are. And so Madison Heights is sort of a blue-collar, middle working class community. Predominantly, it's a residential city. People don't really come to Madison Heights for art and culture and entertainment and things like that. It's really residential. There's some food spots, but it's mostly just blue-collar working class who live in Madison Heights and then go other places for their entertainment and for their, whatever, their art and their culture and their festivals and their movies and their malls and all these different things. But on the weekends, you'll find the local soccer fields, you'll find the Little League Diamonds. You'll find all of these places full of people because it's very family oriented. It's very, residential feel. And so it's important for us to realize that there's not going to be much competition as far as entertainment for our high school students on the Friday before spring break. And so we need to hone in on that and say, hey, listen, this is something that you can do in your hometown. This is something you can do in this region. You don't have to travel forever to get there. You can do it right here, and it's going to be incredible. And so we needed to look at the socioeconomic situation. We also needed to look at the Madison Heights youth culture and sort of where we're at, who we're dealing with, how it all kind of aligns. And so Madison Heights, there's two high schools. There's Madison High School, which is on the south side of Madison Heights, and then there's Lamfair High School, which is on the north side of Madison Heights. Madison High School has a lot more diversity as far as demographics. They're dealing with a lot more of the Middle Eastern culture, the African American culture, the Asian culture, things like that. And so there's a lot more of that going on at Madison High School. And then in Lamfair High School, it's sort of the more, I guess, white America, whatever, at Lamfair. And but they all fit into this subcategory of this working blue collar middle class people. And so when we're looking at that, we have to realize that we're dealing with a lot of different cultures, a lot of different socioeconomic situations, a lot of different individuals. And so nothing that we do needs to pigeonhole anybody or exclude anyone. We need to make sure that we are inclusive of all these different walks of life, all these different students from all these different family backgrounds and family systems so that we can effectively connect them with Jesus. It's very, very important. And then the third area that we were looking at in this historical approach is the evangelical youth culture. What are evangelical students experiencing all over the country? Well, they're experiencing hundreds and hundreds of youth conferences that gather yearly. And so what's going to make ours different from theirs? Why wouldn't they just go to the bigger, badder one like at the Palace or at Joe Louis Arena or Ford Field or something like that? What makes ours unique and special? And we felt as a group that, after where these larger conferences fail us is in the follow-up and the connectivity. You go to these events and you experience this high on your roller coaster, but then when you come back down to the valley, there's no connectivity with all these other churches, with all these other groups, with all these other speakers and all this stuff that was going on. And so we thought, okay, if we can do regional youth rallies that are smaller but have the same level of excellence and excitement and energy and all these things come together. If we do this, then we can actually connect leaders with leaders, youth pastors with youth pastors, youth groups with youth groups, to where there can be a connectivity that lasts further than just the weekend of the conference. It's an opportunity for, everyone to kind of connect and create more of a Christian community across the region. And so our goal is to do these locally, regionally, and to let this be sort of a springboard and a launching board for a greater unity among the youth in our church. And so that's sort of the historical approach to this whole thing. And then Han would go through and share the theological implications, and he would also share the philosophical foundations of teaching. And then Amber was going to share the developmental concerns to be aware of. And then Corey was going to share the cultural implications and considerations for all of this. And he was going to share some statistics and things. And then the closing thoughts, I would just come back and say, we've put a lot of thought into this. We feel like this is going to be a really powerful event that is going to reach the youth of our region. And it's not only going to reach the youth of our region, but it's going to impact the youth of our region. They're going to connect with one another. Their faith is going to be elevated. Their community is going to be elevated. And we believe that this is going to challenge, it's going to encourage, and it's going to bring life change to the youth that attend our regional youth rally that we're calling GLOW. And so that was my part in our group discussion and group presentation. It's all on a Google Drive sheet, which I'm pretty sure Corey printed out and handed into you, so you could kind of track through as well. But here's the video of it, and then I'm going to send this along with my one-page reflection of what it was like to work in the group, which it was phenomenal. They're great. It was great. So I'm going to send all of that to you in just a few minutes. So thank you for your patience and your understanding through all of this. I've been to the chiropractor probably 15, 20 times since the class. He told me what I have, but I can't remember the name of it. Some long name. But it's like where like my discs collapsed like this, like 3 of them shut on each other or something. And so it's been a process, but I really appreciate your understanding and your grace and your mercy and all those sort of things. And yeah, so I'll send this to you in just a few minutes.